we're going to be talking about the year that was 2017 in movies, and we have a lot to talk about. Why don't we start with the trends, like we have with every best of the year pod so far? What was the trend that stood out most to you about film this year, the film industry?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most reported on trends, something that's got a lot of burn online, especially, was the poor box office, especially in the summer. We talked about it a little bit in the fall, but it was the worst August in like 10 years or so.
Yep.
Just in general, it was down, year over year. The fall buttressed by it being a surprise hit, and then, stalwarts like Thor and Coco, Justice League, and Star Wars helped kind of catch it up. So 2017 year isn't done yet at the time of recording, but 2017 isn't like that far off from 2016. It actually could probably still catch it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, it was worrisome for sure, especially the summer where you're supposed to have all your big tentpoles and money makers.
Yeah, it was a super up and down year. Like I was trying to think about what were the movies that really like caught the year, and at the beginning you had Get Out as a surprise movie that really like captured a hold of the population's interest. And then you had Logan, which everybody knew about.
Yeah,
big movie. You had Beauty and the Beast, big movie. And then it was kind of a lull until Wonder Woman, it really felt like. And then after Wonder Woman, there were some movies during the summer that were good and entertaining. Logan Lucky, Baby Driver. But you didn't really have another hit until It. And that was really what saved the box office up to that point. And then it's been like one after the other since then. I mean, Thor, Justice League, which made a lot of, it was a big movie, brought in a lot of money, not necessarily a good movie. Star Wars, obviously, and just all the Oscar movies that have come out too have helped the box office. But a really up and down year for the box office. How much of this do you think is affected by just the way that we take in entertainment now, like streaming services? On-demand movies, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is exactly one half of it, is that just there's more competition for people's time. As podcasters, we understand that, trying to get people to listen to us talk during the week is a tough ask, Everyone has things to consume, and there's a lot of competition for everything. And movies are not the end-all, be-all as much as they once were. Peak TV, we talked about throughout the year, of course. Check out our best TV episode, SoundCloud.com/Nowstalgia pod. But that was 3 weeks ago. But there's just more competition, and some people are willing to see less movies in theater, especially as ticket prices continue to remain at a high price. And the whole let's wait for it to go on Netflix, or we'll wait for it to get on demand. We'll just rent it, the three of us, and it's much cheaper. So some, unless you're really motivated to see something in the theater, people seem to be more inclined to wait these days. But you're still seeing movies that are well received bring people in. Get Out, even Split came out around the same time. Good movies bring people in. Baby Driver, another great success. So the other half of the coin, I think, is that audiences have less tolerance for mediocrity or certainly bad movies because there's more competition for our time. Why would I spend money to go see something that I know is not that good? Rotten Tomatoes and Cinema Score have such high profiles these days. They get so much attention. Heck, they're even marketed when they get good marks. There's all these reasons that tell you not to go see something that, the combination of time, money, and quality might motivate people not to go. So I think overall, especially, we saw this last year. Remember, like The Legend of Tarzan came out and didn't do that well. Why was that? It wasn't that good. The Dark Tower this year, it was, the biggest movie on paper for August.
Wow.
So yeah, overall, quality is definitely a big part of it too. And I think you'll see, moving into 2018, Black Panther is coming out in February, and Aquaman's coming out in December. The calendar, and it was a September smash this year. The calendar is being more diversified as people are trying to pick out, studios trying to pick out their spots where they can try and capture the audience. But competition is tough. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, we were going back and forth a little bit on Twitter about this yesterday, but there really is there's such minimal attention like that you can give to something. And I think a lot of times people, when they come home, want to just watch whatever is easiest. They don't want to think about, all right, I just got home, now I have to get in my car, drive somewhere else, go sit in the theater, drive back home, spend, I don't know, $20 on tickets and water, So it's a tough aspect, I think, sometimes, which is why the quality wins out. But it's easier. Like I rented Good Time recently because I wanted to watch it before we talked about it this week. It was $6 and I have it for 30 days. I can watch as many times as I want. I can watch it again. I can watch it on my own couch. It's such a easier experience to do something like that, though you're not experiencing it with the rest of everybody else.
Right. Well, and that brings me to another point. In the case of Good Time was not in the theaters that long. Good Time was a very cheap movie to make. So Good Time is not depending on a big box office return. The other, you look at the hits this year, superhero movies continue to dominate, continue to make all the money. Animated movies continue to be very reliable, very bankable. Just kids movies, there's just consistent demand for those. And then, apart from that, what seems to have been bankable recently, the Disney remakes, nostalgia, just playing right at nostalgia and that. But other than that, it's the hits we keep seeing are these cheap movies that are greenlit because they're not a risk. Get Out and Split this year, big examples. We're seeing less, like Logan Lucky's movies that cost like $50 million because, you see that those movies, it's hard to get people to go all in on stuff that there was absolutely a demand for, in 2005, the mid-level movie. Think of 2016, The Nice Guys. Well-received movie, mid-level movie, totally bombed at the box office. Why was that? It's tough to get people to show up for that kind of stuff. So unless it truly, gets the buzz like a Get Out because it's so excellent, generally the more expensive movies are the ones that are going to win out just because people are more tuned into them.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about like A24, how they just absolutely killed it this year. A lot of highly acclaimed and well-reviewed movies. I think it just makes more sense to either go in the direction of something small and hope that it's a hit and hope that people will pick up on it after the fact, after it's not in theaters, or to just go super big and just throw as much money as you can at it to get a huge draw, like Star Wars, for example, something like that, which is just huge budget, looking for a huge return. I think they needed like $800 million just to like break even on their investment or something like that. Was
right.
What I heard.
High production because intense marketing. Yeah, that's what Justice League wasn't profitable. You look at the money it actually made. It's not a profitable movie because the thing costs $300 million before you factor in any marketing.
Right.
So I think if you're trying to talk like long-term macro stuff, blockbusters probably should cost less. If you want to have more successful blockbusters, the Fox deal, Fox it hasn't gone through, of course, but it's been agreed upon. Fox wants to get out of the entertainment business, specifically making content. They're a major studio, or soon will have been a major studio, but they're having a tough time competing and scaling up. And when you give all that IP to Disney, the ones who can't really fail right now, it's going to be tough to compete in the blockbuster space.
Yeah, well, and you think about, like we were talking about streaming services, and Netflix this year dropped 3 movies that I think are worthy of any top 10 list: Okja, The Meyerowitz Stories, and Mudbound. You can market those so much easier, and for and much cheaper than you can a movie that you need to go to the box office. You just put it on the screen when you sign into your account. It's right there. You see it. It's coming. So it's definitely going to be a changing landscape in the next couple of years. And we'll definitely have to keep our eye on it. It's interesting the role Movie Pass plays into all of this, because you think about we've been talking about the home like movie theater experience and like being able to see movies that were just released at home, but you have to pay for that like a subscription, like
the streaming room, right? Yeah, it's high cost.
Movie Pass is basically like a direct way to like fight back against that, and that's why I think so many theaters buy into it, because they profit off of selling extra tickets when you bring people along. They profit off of food. They profit off of all like the little pieces that are added into it to get people in the theaters. And I just don't know if Movie Pass can be able to do it, but I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it as long as we have it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what was AMC's big gripe when MoviePass got all the big press when they dropped the price? It was that it's going to condition people to want to pay less and less for movie tickets, and then when MoviePass inevitably fails, it will negatively affect the business overall because more or less people be buying tickets full price again, which is I think it's a fair criticism. You just got to hope MoviePass can stay alive because MoviePass is paying full price to the theater, so they're not losing any money right now. It's kind of a long term principle
Right.
at the moment. But yeah, MoviePass certainly has a. I mean, I was hitting a career high in times at the theaters before MoviePass, but I mean, I've since gone nearly 20 times in 2 months, so
yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's pretty great.
Any other year-end trends that you wanted to mention before we move on?
Yeah, so I mean, we've already been talking about it, but you mentioned A24 and Blumhouse. They're obviously they've been killing it in the horror game. They make horror movies at a specific price. They know how to market it. And they know what's a good horror movie, and they have that lane down pat. Split and Get Out are from Blumhouse. Annapurna though, they got the U.S. distribution rights to James Bond. It was previously with Sony. Warner was in the mix, but MGM and the Bond, Eon, they went with Annapurna, and that's nuts. So good for them because that's a small distributor that's less than 10 years old, getting a huge win in the blockbuster space. International distribution still to be determined, so that's really cool. Yeah, and then you thinking about Netflix, they just released their first quote blockbuster film, Bright, with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, directed by David Ayer, written by Max Landis, and it's not good, not well received at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Depends on Netflix never released their data, but how many people will have seen that? They already commissioned a sequel, so despite all the negative buzz, so will Netflix truly be able to continue to make movies at that scale? Because a lot of the movies they've been putting out thus far, Joe Swanberg or War Machine or Brad Pitt, the movies you mentioned before, they're all cheap. Will Netflix and truly get into the blockbuster space? Remains to be seen. Because Amazon, in the same boat, they more or less have been putting out smaller, later fare.
Well,
so,
they got that. They got that De Niro and Al Pacino movie coming out. Supposedly, I think it's either next year or the year after. So they got to make it work. So that movie's gonna be like
Irishman, yeah,
huge, at least huge budget. I don't know if it will be successful. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting year, and it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how the landscape changes in terms of how people are consuming movies, and how theaters respond and try to get people in.